What is happening, everybody? True Evil here. In today's Blue Protocol Star Residence video, we are going to be walking through how to beat the Frost Dragon raid on Nightmare difficulty. I'm going to be talking about how the Nightmare difficulty differs from the hard to the easy, what stays the same, and general overall tips for success. I stayed up till reset, which is 2 a.m. for me, and it's currently 3 a.m. So I have all of my thoughts in my head, and I'm just ready to give you all the tips as someone who was one of the first people to clear it. So without further ado, let's get in on it. So before we even get to the fight, let's talk about the preparation for it and which items to use as consumables. And the one that I highly recommend for the majority of players, and I'm going to recommend this for anyone who's under 22k ability score, as well as for the tanks, is to make sure you have an ice drop level 3. This is going to raise your ice resistance, which is going to help for a lot of the mechanics in this fight and just overall make it so you do not get KO'd, which is going to be really important because you cannot use revive candies in Nightmare. So staying alive is absolutely essential. So definitely recommend this, and it has already increased by 2,000 Unbound Luno from right at reset to right now, so definitely something to pick up, and I highly recommend it. Now for food for raising the attacks in this dungeon, I actually don't recommend using the increase attack food for this raid until you get to the final area, and the reason for it is we're going to talk about the bridge mechanic, and it's just much easier to get frozen and causing a wipe. So if you go on the left side and your right side ends up freezing and you can't complete the mechanics and it causes a wipe, then that food is not going to work. So I highly recommend waiting until you get to that last area to pop your food. And I do recommend popping the food for the extra attack. I just want to make sure that you're not wasting Unbound Luno when you don't have to. So if you're going to be using the attack buffs, I definitely recommend waiting till the last area, unless if you're a whale and you just want to waste your Luno. But you should have enough DPS to get through the first phase relatively easy. So without further ado, let's just talk about the mechanics of the fight. So how this guide is going to go is I'm going to explain all the mechanics you need to know to succeed at the Frost Dragon Nightmare raid, and then after I explain all the mechanics, I am going to post the full playthrough without any commentary at the end. So this is going to be the commentary portion with the snippets. And the first thing you need to know is that you cannot use revive candies during Nightmare, so make sure at least one person on each side of the raid party has an Arona. And what I mean through there is that the side that goes the left on the bridge has an Arona and the side that goes right has an Arona. This is really important just in case if anyone messes up, which is bound to happen when you're dealing with 20 people. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about the first thing that I think is important to note, which is that the frost build up mechanic when you're far away from your teammates is amplified significantly in Nightmare difficulty. So for that, what you're going to want to do is huddle up and just really bask in your other DPS's glory. So as you can see here, all of the marksmen are just chilling together, blowing up using that H. Besides the frost buildup being significantly quicker and you need to know where the fire pit is, all the mechanics are the same from hard difficulty, where there's that puddle mechanic that you need to run away from your allies. But you do need to know that Nightmare difficulty does significantly more damage, which means this ground pound here can one-shot you if you are a squishy DPS. As you see here, someone got caught in it, so just make sure you avoid that. And if you just make sure you do all the mechanics right, huddle up together to avoid the frost, and avoid that ground pound, and make sure the puddles don't get bunched up with everyone, you are good to go on the first wave, which is relatively easy. Now the second part of this is where there's going to be new mechanics. Now, the second part of the raid is when there is new mechanics, which is going to be going across the bridge. And the most important one of those new mechanics is just there's just more annoying whirlwind things to avoid. And you're just going to need to put on your platforming gaming hat and make sure you don't get caught in these whirlwinds. And for this phase, because you can get frozen significantly quicker, you need to make sure that you're with the party. I recommend to keep your Phantom Dash ready in case if you fall behind and be able to Phantom Dash with the party. Now, for breaking the barrels, always break the first barrel, and if you're going to avoid the second barrel and go straight to the third, that is really going to depend on if your group commits to that. What I recommend to do, especially in a pub lobby, is to just commit to whatever they start doing. So if you see half of the raid start attacking the second barrel, even though you want to just skip it and go to the third, you should commit with your party because of how quickly and easy it is to get frozen. Then if you don't commit and it's just like a halfway commit on any of these moves, it will cause a wipe. So I highly recommend to just do whatever your party decides to do and not think of one way is correct here. And if you dodge everything with platforming and make sure no one gets frozen, you are good to go. And if there are some deaths on the bridge, you can Arona, but I would highly recommend your positioning because there is a wind, and if you use Arona here, you can get blown off the edge and get 07'd. So make sure you're in a position where you cannot get blown off the edge. So that's the bridge mechanic. After the ice walls break on the bridge, you have to break the barrier on the Frost Dragon or else it will cause a wipe, and once you do that, it is time for the final area. I recommend when it is on that shield part right there, that's when you pop your damage buff food, because I do think that the last part is relatively easy if everyone knows what they're doing, but it is a little bit of a race, especially on that first couple of days, since people don't have their level 80 gear yet, so make sure you pop the food because you will need a little bit of that DPS juice. For the final phase, how you want to approach this is you want the tanks to face the dragon away from the fire keg and all of the DPSs to go behind that. If anyone gets the avalanche puddle, you want to run to the fire barrel, and then once everyone starts needing to pop the fire barrel, well, you pop the fire barrel, and then the next fire barrel will be seen on the map, and you just rotate the dragon to make sure that you are quick to get to the next fire barrel if you need that. And there are 3 fire barrels to use for this. Now, there are some other ways to go about this, but this is the best way to go about it if you have coordination as well as you don't have all of the level 80 gear yet. If you do have the gear, you can just group everyone together, and then if people get frozen, if everyone is super close, you can just cleave and hit the dragon and the frozen people at the same time. But I do not recommend this unless everyone just has all the level 80 gear already, and if you're trying to clear this on the first day, then I just don't recommend to do that way. So that's the best ways to go about it in my opinion. Without further ado, let's just show the fight, and also be sure to slam that subscribe button to see the other Nightmare Dragon raids when they come out next week and the week after that.